Someone in your inner circle is actively pulling away from you right now, and you are completely blind to it. They sit across from you, laugh at your jokes, and mirror your energy, but in their mind, you have already been deleted. Betrayal never starts with a dramatic lie or a sudden double cross. It starts months earlier with a microscopic shift in baseline behavior that your emotional brain is desperately trying to ignore. You call it giving them the benefit of the doubt, but dark psychology calls it being prey. The reality is that the people who blindside you don't actually change overnight. You just refuse to read the silent language of their impending treachery. Today, we are going to weaponize hypervigilance to intercept disloyalty before it ever strikes. We are stripping away the dangerous, comforting illusion of trust to examine the cold, calculated mechanics of human deception. If you have ever felt that sickening, faint knot in your stomach that something was slightly off, but you dismissed it as paranoia, this is your wake-up call. You are about to discover that your paranoia wasn't a defect, it was your survival instinct trying to keep you from getting slaughtered. We are going to master the detached, predator-like observation required to map out sudden secrecy and emotional withdrawal, allowing you to neutralize threats to your sovereignty before the first act of betrayal is ever committed. To survive a world built on hidden agendas, you must undergo an immediate psychological mutation. You have to step out of the naive archetype of the victim, the person who wonders why people hurt them, and adopt the cold, unblinking gaze of a predator. Paranoia is a weakness that paralyzes you. Hypervigilance is a weapon that keeps you sovereign. The average person operates on emotional bias, projecting their own loyalty onto people who are fundamentally incapable of returning it. They look at a partner, a business partner, or a close friend through the lens of history, believing that past time spent equals current loyalty. A predator knows that loyalty has a shelf life and must be clinically reassessed daily. You must establish a psychological baseline for everyone in your life. How do they speak when they are calm? What is their natural cadence, their physical proximity, their regular level of disclosure? Once you map this baseline without emotional sentimentality, any deviation, no matter how small, ceases to be a random mood swing and becomes a tactical metric. You are not looking for an excuse to fight. You are running high-level data processing on human behavior to protect your empire. The first place a traitor cracks is in the micro shifts of their established patterns. Human beings are creatures of profound habit, and when someone begins planning a mental exit or a double cross, the internal guilt and anxiety cause behavioral leakage. Watch their speech cadence. If they suddenly become overly descriptive or bizarrely brief when answering simple questions about their day, their brain is working overtime to manage a narrative instead of speaking from memory. Monitor physical proximity. A person whose loyalty is rotting will subconsciously create physical distance. They will sit slightly further away, cross their arms, or turn their torso away from you during casual conversations. This is the calculated performance phase. They are trying to mimic the warmth they used to feel, but because it is no longer authentic, it leaves a trail of subtle facial micro-expressions, a split-second flash of contempt, a tightening around the eyes when you succeed, or a forced smile that fails to reach the upper muscles of their face. They think they are hiding it perfectly, but to a trained predator, they are screaming their intentions in absolute silence. This leakage quickly escalates into the mechanics of emotional withdrawal. Long before a traitor physically leaves or double-crosses you, they execute a mental exit. They begin a systematic, deliberate rationing of personal information. Pay close attention when someone who used to share their chaotic thoughts, minor frustrations, and daily victories suddenly switches to surface-level pleasantries. They are putting you on an information diet.
This rationing is a strategic precursor to total silence. They are slowly untangling their life from yours so that the final break causes them zero psychological friction. At the same time, you'll notice their emotional investment being redirected toward unvetted external sources, new friends, mysterious business associates, or sudden uncharacteristic hobbies that exclude you entirely. They are building their next landing pad while still occupying your space. The most telling sign of this phase is the sudden cooling of shared future projections. If they used to enthusiastically plan next year's investments, vacations, or milestones, and now they deflect or give vague, non-committal answers, it is because they already know you aren't in their future.
As the betrayal ripens, it manifests as sudden secrecy and digital camouflage. In the modern era, the smartphone is the ultimate proxy for a person's soul. When loyalty shifts, device handling undergoes a radical change. The phone that used to sit face up on the table is now face down. New privacy barriers, changed passwords, or sudden panic when you glance near their screen are not innocent adjustments. They are defensive countermeasures. If you question these subtle changes, the traitor will instantly deploy defensive gaslighting. This is a highly calculated manipulation where your accurate pattern recognition is framed as insecurity, jealousy, or delusion. They will turn the accusation around to make you feel guilty for noticing reality. They do this because they need to buy time to complete their scheme without you interfering. You must completely isolate the tactical inconsistencies between their public narrative, the words they say to your face, and their private actions. When their words say everything is fine, but their behavior says, I am hiding something, you always execute based on the behavior.
The final stage is the most critical, neutralizing the threat before the strike. The biggest mistake an emotional person makes is waiting for smoking gun evidence before taking action. They want absolute proof so they can have a dramatic confrontation. A predator does not need a confession. A predator reads the pattern and strikes first. When you have mapped the micro shifts, the emotional withdrawal, and the digital camouflage, you do not argue, demand answers, or show your cards. You use cold detachment to quietly intercept the betrayal. You implement strategic distance immediately, pulling back your capital, your secrets, your emotional vulnerability, and your resources. You remove their access to your life without giving them a warning speech. By the time they are ready to drop the knife, they should find that you are no longer standing where they expected you to be. You reclaim total sovereignty by making the executive decision to exit or freeze them out from a position of absolute power, leaving them holding a useless weapon in an empty room.
Take a hard, clinical look at your immediate reality and confront the question you have been terrified to ask yourself. If you strip away the history, the excuses, and the desperate need to feel safe, which specific person in your life right now is displaying the exact behavioral deviations we just exposed? The choice to ignore the pattern is a choice to accept the strike. To secure your sovereignty and protect your future from hidden treachery, you must be willing to trust the predator instinct over the illusion of comfort. Stay ahead of the herd, lock in your psychological defense, and subscribe to Shadow Emperors so you never miss the dark blueprints required to command absolute authority over your reality. The knife is only sharp if you let them get behind you.